Let me tell you something that most older men have never genuinely heard and really need to. The version of attractiveness you've been measuring yourself against your entire life was designed for a 25-year-old, and you are not 25 anymore, which means you have been grading yourself on a rubric that was never meant to apply to who you actually are right now. There is a completely different kind of handsome that develops in men over time, one that has nothing to do with the absence of gray hair or the smoothness of skin. It is richer than that, more specific, more earned, and the men who carry it are almost always the last ones to recognize it in themselves. Today, we are talking about the 8 signs that you have it, whether you've noticed or not. Here is something that happens to a lot of men as they get older, and almost nobody talks about it honestly. You stop seeing yourself as someone worth being attracted to, not dramatically, not all at once, but gradually, through 1,000 small cultural messages that associate desirability with youth, you begin to edit yourself out of that conversation. You stop noticing when someone looks at you with genuine interest. You explain away the warmth people bring to your presence. You look in the mirror and catalog the distance between what you see and what you looked like 20 years ago, without ever considering that what you see now might be its own kind of remarkable. That quiet self-erasure is the problem, and today we are dismantling it with specificity and with honesty. This is a sign most men walk right past without registering its significance. Watch what happens to the energy of a space when you arrive. Does the room become slightly calmer? Do people orient toward you without being asked? Do conversations find a more grounded register when you're part of them? That settling effect is not accidental. It is the social environment responding to the presence of someone whose nervous system has reached a genuine stability, earned through years of navigating difficulty and coming through it with their composure intact. People are drawn toward that kind of calm the way they are drawn toward warmth on a cold day. If rooms settle when you enter them, you are carrying something that has real and unmistakable value. There is a quality in the eyes of men who have lived fully and reflected honestly on what they've lived, a depth that is simply not available to someone who hasn't yet accumulated the experience that produces it. It shows up as a particular kind of steadiness in your gaze, an ability to hold eye contact without aggression or anxiety, a quality of genuine seeing, of looking at people rather than through them, that women and perceptive people of all kinds find immediately, powerfully compelling. If people frequently tell you that you have kind eyes or intense eyes or eyes that make them feel seen, that is not a coincidence. That is decades of conscious living showing up in the most expressive part of your face. Physical presence, the way a person occupies space, the quality of their movement, whether they seem at ease in their own body, communicates attractiveness at a level that bypasses conscious evaluation entirely. Younger men often move with a subtle urgency, a restlessness, an undercurrent of needing to establish themselves in every new environment. Older men who have done their inner work move differently, unhurried, deliberate, comfortable in their own skin in a way that reads, to everyone in the vicinity, as genuine confidence. Not the performed kind, the kind that comes from having nothing left to prove. If people describe you as having a calm or commanding presence, that is the physical expression of earned self-assurance. And it is genuinely, measurably attractive. Pay attention to this one, because it is one of the clearest external signs available. When women, particularly younger women, specifically seek your perspective, your advice, or your take on something they're navigating, they are not just looking for information. They are seeking the particular quality of judgment and clarity that they sense you carry. They trust your read on things in a way they don't extend to everyone. That trust is deeply intertwined with attraction. We do not seek the opinions of people we find irrelevant. We seek them from people we respect, find compelling, and whose presence we find valuable. If women regularly come to you specifically, not just anyone available, that specificity is telling you something worth hearing. Here is something that takes most men a long time to understand. The lines on your face are not subtractions from your attractiveness. They are additions to your story. The gray at your temples is not evidence of decline. It is evidence of duration, of survival, of a life that has been genuinely lived rather than carefully preserved. Women who are mature enough to know what they're looking at see these things correctly. They are not looking past your age to find something attractive underneath it. They are finding your age itself attractive for what it represents, for what it has produced in you, for the particular kind of man that only time and experience can create. If you have stopped trying to hide the evidence of your years, if you wear your age with something approaching ease, that acceptance itself is one of the most attractive things you can carry. This is a skill that almost exclusively develops through accumulated life experience, and it is one of the most quietly powerful forms of attractiveness that exists. You have been through enough to know that most of what people say has something underneath it that matters more than the surface content. So you listen at a different level. You hear the feeling under the words. You ask the follow-up question that gets to what someone actually means. The experience of being genuinely heard, not just acknowledged, but truly received, is so rare that people remember it vividly. They remember the person who gave it to them. They find themselves wanting to return to that person. If people consistently tell you that you are easy to talk to, or that they always feel better after spending time with you, that is this quality at work. And it is deeply, sustainably attractive. Older men who have made peace with themselves develop a particular kind of humor, unhurried, self-aware, genuinely funny in ways that don't require anyone else to be the target. It shows up as wit rather than performance, as the ability to find the absurd thing in an ordinary moment, as laughter that comes from a place of genuine ease rather than nervous energy. Women are extraordinarily responsive to this kind of humor, not because it is impressive, but because it signals a man who is comfortable, who doesn't need the laugh to validate himself, who finds life genuinely amusing rather than performing amusement for effect. If your humor has gotten quieter and more precise as you've gotten older, that evolution is working in your favor. This is the deepest sign on this entire list. When someone thinks of you after time apart, when they carry the memory of your company as a feeling rather than a collection of specific words or events, you have done something that very few people ever manage. You have created an emotional impression that outlasted the interaction itself. That is not a small thing. That is the mark of a presence that genuinely matters. That is what people are describing when they say a man has something about him that they can't quite put into words. If people light up slightly when they see you coming, if your absence from a gathering is something people actually notice, that unmistakable response is the clearest external evidence of genuine, mature attractiveness that exists. Here is the truth that all 8 of these signs point toward. The most attractive version of you is not in the past. It is not the version that existed before the gray and the lines and the accumulated years. The most attractive version of you is this one, the one that has been through enough to be real, grounded enough to be present, and experienced enough to know what actually matters. Stop measuring yourself against a standard that was never designed for who you are now. Start recognizing the specific, earned, genuinely remarkable qualities that only this season of your life could have produced. You have something that cannot be faked, cannot be rushed, and cannot be bought. You just have to stop being the last person in the room to see it. If today gave you something worth sitting with, subscribe. Every week we go this deep into psychology, attraction, and what it means to fully inhabit the man you've become. I'll see you in the next one. You've earned what you're carrying. Start owning it.